Hi Pisces, welcome to your December 2025 astrology forecast. We are starting the month off with a lot of Sagittarius energy. The Sun, Venus, and Mars are all traveling through Sagittarius in your 10th house. This means that your identity, your sense of motivation, energy, desire, and ambition all take on these tones of adventurous, of freedom-loving, expansive energy. Sagittarius is a fire sign ruled by Jupiter, so there is a lot of energy of wanting to explore options and wanting to do something different or to widen your horizon, especially related to your work or career path. We also have Venus sextile to Pluto on the 1st of December. And this means that typically your desire intensifies. It can be desire for expansion, growth, exploration. Sagittarius is a very adventurous and exploratory energy, so you may be exploring what other options you have. Venus is also very creative, and it really speaks to the things that you love and you have an appetite for. So you may be exploring different types of options related to career around this time, but there is this sense of intensity and obsession related to all that, because that's what happens when Venus and Pluto are making a contact. On the 1st of December, Venus is also separating from an opposition to Uranus, and it is separating from a trine aspect to Neptune. These aspects perfected, they were exact on November 30th, but they will still go on and influence you till about December 4th. This can speak of idealization, especially related to career. When Venus is in an opposition with Uranus, it can talk about some sort of desire for disruptions or change and novelty. Uranus is typically a very rebellious energy. It wants to do anything but what is considered normal or conventional. So again, a lot of energy related to, of course, it can be romantic or, relational aspects of your life, but because Venus is traveling through your 10th house, it can really talk about your passion for work or your love for your professional path. Now, around this time, you can be longing for travel. You may want to do more creative and free-spirited work. Foreign or abroad opportunities may all of a sudden sound great to you. Talking about Venus trine to Neptune, again, this is about idealization. It's about fantasy, and it's about dreaming of the possibilities. You can experience heightened sense of imagination or a desire to pursue artistic, creative, or spiritual path as well. But as I said, Venus does move pretty quickly, so these energies should shift or morph into something different after December 4th. Now, December 4th is also our full moon in Gemini, which is happening in your 4th house. When the moon is traveling through Gemini, there is a lot of illumination related to dialogue, especially communication or mental connection with family. There can be information that surfaces related to your family or ancestors, or even just your emotional roots, emotional upbringing. There's just a lot of remembering past experiences when the moon is traveling through your 4th house. So either new information or information you've known about, it just kind of surfaces and you're able to come to some sort of conclusion. Now, what makes this full moon especially potent is that the sun and moon opposition, that's what the full moon is, they are making square aspects to both of the south and north nodes. Now, south and north nodes speak of past lives or past patterns, especially, when it's involving the moon. It can be past emotional patterns or emotional memories. And it can be from childhood, from past lives. So you may be receiving some sort of information about things related to that area as well. Since we are talking about a grand square aspect configuration involving both of the luminaries, the sun and moon, and the nodes, south and north nodes, you may experience conflict related to dualities. It can be past versus present, what shapes your emotional expression or how you communicate and relate to your emotions. It can even talk about personal truth versus relational truth, since North Node is in Pisces in your first house, and the South Node is in Virgo in your seventh house. So there can be a lot of dualistic energies related to someone else or yourself, your path versus path carved out for you by family members or by someone else, because the sun again is in your 10th house, so it can speak about private life, family life, domestic environment versus career, profession, and what you're known in the world, your professional sphere, your visible aspects of your life. So this nodal grand cross is a very potent and almost karmic energy. It would be really interesting to see what you may be experiencing as a result. And of course, these will be stronger if you have natal placements at 13 degrees of the mutable signs. So that's Sagittarius, Virgo, Gemini, and Pisces. And depending on what that planet is, what that personal planet is, it will point to exactly what it is that you may personally experience as a result of this transit. Also, around this time, we do have a grand water trine between Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. Mercury is in Scorpio in your 9th house, and this can talk about emotional or psychic impressions. It can speak of mental clarity around hidden or unconscious emotional patterns or emotions. Jupiter in Cancer is a very nurturing energy. It can speak about having faith and having hope. It gives typically wise perspectives, insight, and wisdom. And then Saturn in Pisces is a very patient, mature energy related to understanding and compassion. So when these all work together, it can speak to meaningful dialogues, either internal conversations that you have with yourself, realizations or conclusions that you come to on your own, or external dialogue, either with family, friends, or romantic partners. You can just expect a bit more wiser introspection, as well as mature and wise understanding of others, especially maybe related to their past, and how past lives, past experiences, early upbringings, childhood memories shape who we are as grown adults. So I think that's what the energies around December 4th is going to be like. The next aspect I want to talk about is happening on December 8th. And this day, Mars in Sagittarius is squaring off with Saturn in Pisces. Now, Mars and Saturn both are malefic planets, meaning they bring conflicts, they bring challenges, especially when they're in contact with one another in a conflict-driven aspect like the square aspect. So around the 8th, you may experience blockages, conflict, or frustrations, a sense of having to overcome hurdles. You can feel, held back either by invisible, unknown forces, like you just can't make forward momentum, or by known physical things. It can be family, it can be other people or circumstances. Things are just in your way and you're not able to make decisions. It's harder to make decisions or move forward. This energy is really, on the grand scheme of things, it's really trying to kind of make you understand about limitations, whether emotional, psychological, physical. Saturn and Pisces also talk about boundaries as well. So you may be dealing with either other people's boundaries, people not willing to cooperate or work with you, or you may have to strengthen or deal with some sort of confrontations due to your own personal boundaries. It basically, Saturn and Mars together basically will test your endurance and your commitment to something. Again, Mars is traveling to your 10th house, so this could be related to, your professional path, since Saturn is in your first house, your identity versus public responsibilities. So that sort of conflict can surface around the 8th. And this sort of conflict kind of goes on throughout the month as well. On December 14th, now when Mars moves forward, it's Sun that's coming into a square aspect to Saturn. So when Saturn and Sun are fighting off, when they're not getting along, this means that your ego, identity, your sense of vitality, personal direction, purpose feels stifled by Saturn. There's blockages and delays. There's just a sense of restrictive forces at play when Saturn is kind of blocking off that Sun. Also on the 14th, Mars comes into an exact square aspect with Neptune. Now when Mars and Neptune square off, your efforts, physical energy, exertion feel pointless. It can bring up a lot of self-doubt as well as feeling inferior. Again, Saturn on the Sun, Neptune on Mars is not an easy energy. It's like your path ahead is hazy and it's filled with confusion. So you can experience a lot of uncertainty and doubt, fear of failure as well. Now with the first and the 10th houses involved, this period is good for distinguishing between fantasy and intuition, or ego-driven actions or decisions versus inspired purpose. So it could feel like a literal halt, like a stop sign in front of you. And it may be a good time to just kind of recalibrate where it is that you're heading towards, rather than just blindly moving forward for the sake of momentum or progress. And then on December 19th, we have our full moon in Sagittarius. And this is happening in your 10th and 11th house cusp. So again, related to career, social groups, peers, even your dreams and aspirations are represented by the 11th house, especially in Sagittarius, a Jupiter ruled sign. So this is a new beginning. It can talk about a new sense of meaning, illumination of purpose, or a birth of a new vision. It feels very promising, but the new moon is again filled with conflict as it is square to Saturn and Neptune. So Saturn and Neptune are being involved in a lot of square aspects this month, which means that it's really time to distinguish between realism and idealism. What we want versus what we are able to achieve or what we're capable of. Fantasy versus inspired dreams, right? The new moon is all about our subconscious. It's about our emotional landscape. And since it's both the sun and the moon, the external and the internal self, Neptune just tends to blur a lot of, who you believe or who you think, who you thought you were. Since it is also involving the 10th house and again, first and second house, it can also bring a lot of uncertainty related to career as well as personal finance. Your sense of belonging can really feel challenged with the 11th house. Around the 19th, it's especially sensitive, delicate, and a fragile time. So you really want to take care of yourself and just really have a self-compassion. But at the same time, be careful of the stories you're telling yourself. Try to pay attention to the negative voices you tend to repeat to yourself, because with Neptune and the new moon, there is likely emotional deception or illusion. So a lot of what you think of yourself around this time are not really the truth, it's just those emotions that surface when you are feeling doubtful, or when your spirit is lacking energy or vitality. Now, since it is a new moon, it is a big energy. So there can be a major scandal. Your public role reputation or your social networks, alliances can challenge your sense of self-image, can challenge your personal boundaries or personal truth. So you wanna, really be able to distinguish illusion from reality. And then on 20th, as the moon moves forward, now it's Venus that comes into square Saturn. And then 3 days later, on December 23rd, Venus will make an exact square to Neptune. So this can, again, Neptune can be about disillusionment, especially when we talk about Neptune in a square aspect to a personal planet like Venus. So you can expect illusions related to social, professional, financial matters, maybe even fake friends or spotting fake friends. There is, however, greater chances of pain and disappointment, especially related to your friend groups or friendships, because Venus is all about our relationships, our ability to connect, how we show affection. So when that is being challenged by Neptune, Neptune can take it away, if that makes sense. So affection, social charm, ability to connect feels hazy and restrictive. And you may not want to really put yourself out there because you are a sensitive sign and you may feel especially vulnerable around this time. A sense of void or unmet needs can push you towards escapism. Definitely choose to escape into, creativity, spiritual practices like yoga, meditation, prayer, journaling, stuff like that. Rather than falling into substance like drinking or partying or, doing drugs. Obviously, that can't help you bounce back. It'll just drag you deeper into your own sense of disappointment and depression. As the month comes to a close from December 24th till December 31st, the Sun, Venus, and Mars all move into Capricorn in your 11th house. So your expectations, direction, and energy output can take on more of a serious and realistic tone as a result of earlier disappointment or uncertainty in the month. Capricorn is an earth sign and it can feel heavy and pessimistic. On one hand, you can experience a bit more depression, melancholy, or pessimism. But on the other hand, Mars in Capricorn is an exalted placement for Mars, and Mars does very well. So your courage, grit, and willpower can return and strengthen at the same time. You can even become more picky about what or who you give your energy, time, and effort to. So as the month began, we felt a bit more adventurous, open, free, and expansive. But as the month closes with Capricorn energy, we're a bit more contained, cautious, and preserving of our energy. I think that's all I have for you for the month of December, Pisces. Best of luck, and let me know how some of these transits play out in your life.